As the sun rises across Uganda, a new dawn in luxury living awakens. Solana Lifestyle and Residences is Uganda's newest, most prestigious and award-winning lifestyle destination, an address for those who dream differently. At Solana, you're close enough to the hustle of the city, but far enough to come home to a sanctuary of smart living. Join a community of like-minded individuals where everything is taken care of and safety and security come standard, where each community has a clubhouse, play area, pool, and other incredible features. Let an oasis of calm greet you at the end of each day with manicured gardens, pathways, parks, bicycle tracks, and so much more. Whether you're upscaling or settling down, buying a first home or investing,
Solana has it all. Uganda?
Imagine waking up to a dream where luxury meets tranquility. Welcome to Solana Lifestyle and Residences, a sanctuary of elegance where every detail is curated for your comfort. From impeccable security to serene garden pathways, Solana offers more than a home. It's a lifestyle. Now, your dream is within reach. Solana's exclusive New Year's sale is here. Buy your home today, starting from just $139,000 US. Solana Lifestyle and Residences, now ready for occupancy. Live, work, play, and shop the Solana way. As the sun rises across Uganda, a new dawn in luxury living awakens. Solana Lifestyle and Residences is Uganda's newest, most prestigious and award-winning lifestyle destination, an address for those who dream differently. At Solana, you're close enough to the hustle of the city, but far enough to come home to a sanctuary of smart living. Join a community of like-minded individuals where everything is taken care of and safety and security come standard, where each community has a clubhouse, play area, pool, and other incredible features. Let an oasis of calm greet you at the end of each day with manicured gardens, pathways, parks, bicycle tracks, and so much more. Whether you're upscaling or settling down, buying a first home or investing,
Solana has it all. Uganda is now open to the world.
Imagine waking up to a dream where luxury meets tranquility. Welcome to Solana Lifestyle and Residences, a sanctuary of elegance where every detail is curated for your comfort. From impeccable security to serene, more than a home. It's a lifestyle. Now, your dream is within reach. Solana's exclusive New Year's sale is here. Buy your home today, starting from just $139,000 US. Solana Lifestyle and Residences, now ready for occupancy. Live, work, play, and shop the Solana way.
And a very good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining NSSF Financial Literacy class. This is the last Friday of the month, and we are always glad to have you join us in class. My name is Mboa Apple, and I'm the headmaster of this school. In the next 2 hours, we're going to get into the school of money, where we talk about money, talk about money, talk about money. But the interesting thing is, our approach to money is talking about life, because we need life to have this money. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for always joining us for this. Today we are doing financial parenting. We are not saying if you are not a parent, go away. No. If you are not a parent, there is someone parenting you, or you are going to be a future parent, or you're a step parent, or you could be a parent that you do not know. So please sit down and let us decipher this topic, talk about these things, and let us see what they can do with us. Ours is to talk, yours is to act. My name again, I will say it again, Mboa Apple, and I'm referred to as Headmaster Sir. But before we start, mine is to introduce why do we do this as NSSF. At NSSF, our job is to pick money from people. Previously, before we brought in Smart Life, we are picking this money by force. By law, we'll tell you, bring money. Even if we abused you, we had a law on our side to say, bring in money. And while we take this money, we grow it, and at an appropriate time, when you clock 55, 50, you have gone abroad, you have gotten married to a non-Ugandan, we give you this money. We have seen that over time, while we keep paying this money, and it lands into the hands of its owners, only 5% can stand out and say, we actually have they have evidence on their money. 85% of our people, 85% of the people we pay, 2 years, they have no evidence. They actually cannot trace where this money went. So we decided, let's talk about this. Because you do not lose money on that day when you get it. You lose money all your lifetime. You started losing money right from the beginning. And your NSSF payment is just evidence to show that you've been losing money over your lifetime. So we do this, and we will continue doing this for you to have options. What are the options you can have while you are working? For you to be financially empowered, and for us to reverse those statistics. Every time I go through these statistics, I'm not even going to do these miserable statistics, but every time I go through these statistics, people say we are doing badly, who are going to share with us different experiences. Mine, as I told you, is to just introduce this topic, but allow me to share a few insights. And this I have learned this morning. We had as men, we're actually talking about our issues as men. Men will have our issue. We'll have another space in financial literacy where we talk about these issues. But I got to learn that 10% of parents out there don't know actually they are parents. 10%. Now, while we're talking about financial parenting, you actually could be among the 10% who don't know that you have the obligation of actually parenting a person. 40% have abandoned their parenting responsibilities. These are statistics drawn by the family network. 40% have abandoned their responsibilities. 45% are present, they are meeting their responsibilities, but they are not present. I don't know if you understand this. They are there, but not present. They are actually just a checkbook. Where are the bank slips? Where are the reports? Where's money for food? That is all you are doing. They are transactional. Only 5% can be looked at as healthy parenting couples. And ladies and gentlemen, for us that worries us, because even as we start talking about the financial bit, how is your parenting bit? How did you grow up? When it came to money, what were the conversations happening in your household? What conversations are happening about money in your household right now? What are you telling your children about money? Are you the one who is, when they bring a bank slip, you have to firstly remind them how you moved on foot? Ladies and gentlemen, it is not your fault where you came from, but it is entirely your fault that these children are coming from you. If a poor background comes from you, it is entirely your fault. And these conversations go on and on and on. What are those things you had while growing up? I picked up a few. Parents used to say, money does not grow on trees. Most of us grew up in those households where I say money does not grow up on trees. And you have not even gone up to establish forests because you do not know actually there is money there. Whatever you have done, whatever you were told has affected your perception on money. You children, you will kill me. When a child comes to you, when you went to your parent and asked them for school fees, all you are doing is school fees. And your parent almost put you on treason. You are doing treason. You are going to kill me, asking me for things which are my responsibility. So you grew up with a timid approach to some things. Your father became that person that you were capable of killing just by asking them to fulfill their obligation. Money is lost. We have also grown up in households where they're telling us money is lost. Money is lost. And one of the things we have learned from this class, I have learned from this class, me attending this class, is that money is not lost. We know where the money is, but how do you actually make that money? We don't look for money, we make money. So all these things that you kept up, you grew up hearing, have affected you as a parent, have affected you as a person, and will affect your children. And today we want to discuss how do we change this. I know they have one here that I've been sent. We are poor, we don't do those things. We have grown up with parents showing us and putting us in a box of who we are. Because people are eating ice cream, that one is not for us. Because people are eating sausages, you can't even get asthma. You are poor, you can't cough. You can't have a good panel of parents. When I grow up, I want to be like them. When I grow up, I want to be like them. Parents, which is ranging, allow me these. Parents, which is ranging, allow me these are just my own. Yourself. But Brian, the bit about Brian is, and this I know about him, I don't think you have said it so often, but I know you were raised by a grandmother.
And a mother.
And a mother. So, but I also know you are a cool parent.
Yes.
I see you in all those different things, and I look at your children, I look at you taking photos with your children, and I say, ah, your children, and I say, ah, my children look at your
Right from home here, ladies and gentlemen, Rebecca Zadok Mugisha, the Senior Manager on charge of partnerships and business development at the fund. Welcome, Becky.
Thank you, Brian.
Becky has a lot to say, and you will hear it. Also, my friend, retired but not tired. Yeah. AIGP Hassan Kasinje. He refers to himself as
not to just go and investigate crime. You only investigate not to just go and investigate crime. You only investigate what you cannot prevent. Okay? It's like prevention is better than cure. So you don't prevent. Okay? It's like prevention is better than cure. So you don't tell people that when you get malaria, we have drugs which shall come and treat you. You tell people how not to get malaria in the first instance.
Yeah.
So why I call community policing officer therefore is that I consistently remained within communities, different communities, whether it was media, whether it was schools, whether it was in hospitals, whether it was on the street, whether I was there, I was seen there. And that's why even when I get out, people still call me and say there is this and this and this. Can you please handle? I have remained a police officer within a community.
That's incredible.
Actually, I was a police officer within a community. Now I am a community and help the police to do their work when I was still there.
That's incredible. That's a good way to see it.
Yes.
One university, Makerere University, and then 7 workplaces. This is the 7th place I've worked in NSSF.
Wow.
Yeah, because I was looking.
Remarkable. Mengo Senior School, 6 years.
Wow.
Makerere University Primary School, 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
great.
And 1 wife.
Yes.
Yeah. This conversation is very important, and if you want to...
Where my father was a shopkeeper, call him a shopkeeper. You know, there are like 3 shops on a village, And in this shop, there are groceries, but he also has a sewing machine. And he's, sewing everything, including mattresses. You grew up in Kampala, you don't know that in the villages, mattresses were actually sewn on a sewing machine. So what they do, they get a piece of cloth, they stitch it together, and then you go and get grass.
And you put in.
And you put in. Yes, that kind of thing. And I had an opportunity because I am firstborn. I would go to the shop, okay, and sit and watch him. Quite often, I knew the prices. I would get to know the prices because he would tell me, sugar is so much, soap is so much, batteries is so much, kajirita, the razor blade, piterizo, which is like mpiso, these ones for
that
stitching.
Cooking oil of ubuendo.
That could, yes, so I knew. And people would come, I sell them. Even if he goes to shop in Kabohe, for me, I'm in a shop in Chibingo, and I would be able to sell these things on Saturday and Sunday. And he also made sure that I sleep at the shop with him. And that gave me a bit of thinking, because our family was relatively, call it middle class if you want, of the village, okay? where like you have everything. Yeah. And I used to see him getting something and bringing it home, not just because it is in the shop. My mother used to ask, we want this, we want this. So it's not that because he had things there, he would just pick and bring home. Yeah. Thinking of it after some time, it's like he was trying to show that you get what you earn. You get something because you have worked for it. I
might be the business owner, but it doesn't mean I just pick from the business.
Yes. Number two, at one time I thought my father was mean. Because even when we worked in the banana plantation, even when we went and had crops, sweet potatoes, cassava and all this, you would not just simply cut and sell. My mother would not simply cut and sell a banana because she's at home and we are there and we need something. No, he was responsible for that, for the wealth of the family. It is not a matter of everybody can. You can imagine as a young man, you just wake up in a day and you want school fees, you take a goat and sell it. No, it can't happen. It cannot happen. And maybe later in our discussion, you'll find out that young people now do that. Yeah. Okay? You have something, you have a car and he's driving it. The next thing is you see him not having a car. Where is the car? Dad, I sold it. I needed this, so I sold the car. Never, when I was growing up. Number three, my grandmother, a mother to my father, she used to have her sorghum, her beans, her this, her millet, and she would, after that, put in bags and she would sell. So she had some money. Now, whenever she saw someone doing something, like she sees you take the goats to tie them somewhere, she sees you washing something, she would bring a coin and give it to you. Brian, did you know that we had coins with a hole?
With a hole?
A hole, yes. Small coins of 1 cent, 5 cent, something like that, with a small hole. She would get that one and give it to you. Okay? Now, in your mind, this is an appreciation. I've done something, and this something I've done is good. So you are appreciated for what you have done. Yeah. Okay? And you would put them in like a small thread, a small piece of cloth, and keep them somewhere. Or if she gave you like this other coin, would cut here. This is our trousers in primary. This is not trousers. This is your short. Chinu. Chinu. Omanyi wano wosibira wano walwe pesa. Kakati wano noja no salako wano no salawo no tekamu no nakajirita. Not
You
inside
store
there is a
the-
hole. So you keep on pushing it there. So even when you go to school, you can touch here and say 1, 2, 3, 4. They are there.
So the coins were like your belt.
The coins were like a belt, but this was like a bank. This was like a bank account. Yes, you have a bank account. You have where you put your thing.
Yeah.
And because you are hiding it, it's not every day that you go through that shop. You have to buy a sweet. You have to do what? Watereka. What do you?
Yes.
And you can even show your friend that whatever. And watch.
I have. I have.
Now you grow up, you know, seeing. Because you go to a coffee plant, we go kunogia mwanyi,
Yes.
you come and you do it very well, and then you will see people who come on bicycles with the weighing scale, and then they put there, they weigh. No manyant fees ekolachi.
That's how the fees is got.
That's how the fees is got.
Awesome.
And that if you don't take part in one, let it not run faster. Nchali wana sanga levyo. Kakati, it is because it is on Christmas that you get a new trouser,
Yeah.
a new shirt,
Yeah.
shoes. It is on Christmas that you are going to drink a soda. It is on Christmas dogwedeo anakubuziza na ye gwe
You're
owa
doing it
accountability.
yourself because you know Christmas is coming.
You know Christmas is coming. And put matoke on their heads, carry the matoke to the one place, one central place. Matoke on their heads, carry the matoke to the one place, one central place at the Saza headquarters then, which is now district headquarters of Shema.
Yeah.
Now, this is where the lorries would come and then they put there. Now, my father one time put his foot on the ground. And he says, you cannot come to my banana plantation. I had one of the best banana plantations on the village. You don't come and cut matoke and you give money to people you have come from Kampala. I mean from Kabohe. No. My children are going to carry this matoke unless the banana
It's too heavy.
Too heavy. So we would even lift it, 2 of us. And I think picking was something like 1 shilling. And if they cut 50 bunches, that means that we are going to have 50 shillings in our home, and they would pay us. Okay? Looking back, it looks my father was trying to teach us how to toil for money. He was a parent trying to parent us from that age, to understand what it means by toiling for money. After that, someone would come and push your head a little bit high because really would be like this. And I think those are the memories that I get. Even when I visited my grandfather, which is a next village, he after 2 days, you go on Saturday, Sunday, you go back, he gives you something in appreciation. So you learn that money is a precious thing. And even when your grandfather is giving you a gift, he gives you money. So you begin to appreciate that money is important. And you get it after good gestures, after somebody is pleased.
It's not just because...
It is not just like you leave home and say, Gwe, center study kameza, no tambula no genda. So that becomes a responsibility. It doesn't become like you're my wife. No, I have earned $1 million. Somebody gave me $1 million. But have this 200,000. You know, you never know what you can buy with it. But it is always there. It is always there. It is always there. It comes a responsibility. It doesn't come from the heart. And I think that is something that I grow up with.
That's incredible. You know now, I think now I understand why we are friends.
Yes.
Because we also had a shop at home.
Yes.
And that shop is still there.
Yes.
So even after my mom has retired, she still runs
the shop.
Despite even when she was working at Makere, she ran the shop and we managed it and all of that. I think we have, I didn't suffer like you for bananas, but but I understand. Becky.
Yes.
What is yours like growing up in the home?
Actually, my story is a bit different. My inspiration for work and looking for money and financial parenting comes from a history of, we have 13 kids.
Your 10 kids?
13.
13?
1, 3 years. Don't ask me how many mothers.
Okay.
Yeah, so I come from a family of 13 children where, at the time of going to school, my dad had to list in order of who goes first. And oftentimes, I was never number one on the list. So I'd find myself going to school 1 week or 2 weeks later. I even started to forge stories at school of, we're in the village, because I didn't want kids to know that it was a school fees thing. We're in the village, etc. So I came back late and I made up these beautiful stories of what the exciting things I did in the village, but it was really a thing of school fees.
Yeah.
And not getting onto that, we had a list called the school fees defaulters. Sometimes I even found myself on that list, but that inspired my journey for work later on. I remember a time when I was in P6. First of all, I used to go to school where there are all these kids from these rich places.
Yes.
And at home, I'm among a list of 13 where
Many.
you're being prioritized for school. Thank you. So one time in P6, I remember I was late for school and I wasn't going to school. And there are these kids that I knew in my primary school. There were 8 of them. And they'd come to school and say, you know what, we're in Hong Kong last holiday. We're in China. And I was thinking, how does somebody have, they must have been about 8. They belong to a certain Hajj. I'll not mention his name, but God bless his soul. But I was like, how do these kids come to school and talk about Hong Kong, China? And here I am waiting for school fees 1 week, 2 weeks to go to school. So in P6, I remember we used to go to Namrembe Road for school, and we used to stay right in town. If you remember those flats that were called Buses of Uganda.
Hey.
Yes. Yeah. We used to stay in those flats. So somehow I knew where these kids would go after school. Their dad owned an arcade.
Okay.
So in P6, when I appeared on one of those lists of school fees defaulting, I had gone to school maybe a week late. I just walked into his shop and said, you know what, Haji, you don't know me, but I go to school with your children and I don't have school fees.
What?
Yes.
P6?
Yes.
Becky.
And he said, okay, who are you? Where do you come from? etc, etc. And then he asked me to write a composition about myself. And when you're young, you have Lugambo. I told him everything. We're 13 children. My father, etc, etc. He does etc, etc. He's a very lovely man, very hardworking. But when it comes to school fees, we go in tons. And somehow I find myself in school. But anyway, fast forward, he became my father's friend. He paid my school fees for that term. And he gave me my first job.
Wow.
In Chikubo.
Becky.
Yes, right after university.
What?
So my inspiration about work and my kids understanding money is just from that place of, you know what, we have to go to school and we will go to school on the first day. And you shall not be on the school defaulters list. And that sort of like fuels my career path, my journey, and everything about me concerning work.
This is crazy. I'm getting like goosebumps. I'm getting goosebumps. Because I have like...
But guess what? Later on, I learned that the reason they were going to China and Hong Kong and etc. is because their father was a wholesaler, a trader, thank you. So he used to go with his children and expose them to the trading industry.
Kati, for you can be here thinking they're going on
holiday. On holiday.
Yet they are going to work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, context is very important.
True.
This is you talk about school fees defaulting, and my inspiration for working was also because of a school fees defaulting thing. I had my mom beg the bursar to allow me back in school. And I said,
How old were you then?
I was in S2. I said, this cannot happen again. I studied hard, went government scholarship at uni, made sure my brother finishes. Luckily he got also government scholarship. I was like, no, so that thing that you have, my kids will not be on that defaulters list.
Yeah.
We want to hear from you. What was that like for you growing up? Your first memory of money. And if you're like me, maybe once in a while you also stole your parents' money and they had to teach you the hard way. You can teach us, and we'll take a look at some of those comments. But I hear your stories. They're fantastic. But now things have changed.
True.
It's like we had all this experience and we are not successfully passing on the same things to our children. We are instead doing the opposite. Speak to the people who are watching us now why it's important to start early with the kids when it comes to money? I'll start with you, Asa.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brian. It's very, very important. When you look at those stories, we grew up in our parents' homes. So we're able to see what they were trying to do at that time. And we live in new times now. And the new times now is not the times I lived in. I walked to school, my children, I drove them to school.
Yep.
Okay? And so many things. So now we must begin to talk about, as parents, we must begin to talk about the value of money. We must begin to talk to them how you make money, to appreciate money. How do you save money? How do you invest it? And how they are different. I also studied education, postgraduate diploma in education after my bachelor's. Even in teaching, they teach, the syllabus is made in such a way that you can teach 5-year-old and 10-year-olds so that you understand the growth and development. 10 to 15, 15 to 20. When you have children in the home, you begin to bring the subject of money depending on the age that they have. Okay, what are the things that you must start telling them? Okay, they must begin to understand. When it is very young age, very young age, you can put like a 1,000 note, and the child will pick it and say, go and put it in that box. So she understands that this is money, it has value, and anyone can take it, but it can be kept somewhere. Now, keeping it is like open. Go and put it there. So when it comes to another age group, you will tell them you don't put money where everybody is seeing. Now, you put money here. Each one can have, for example, a PJ box. Each one can have like a box where you keep your own money. I tell you, I used to keep it somewhere here.
In the pants.
Yes, yes. But now they begin to understand that you can keep it. Later on, they call it what box? Which they break sometime. So they keep on throwing. That is now another age group. So we need to begin to think into that lines. Number two, I have seen this. I don't know whether it is an Indian setting, but I lived on a flat. We had a friend who is an Indian, and his children grew with our own children. So he was a businessman. Most Indians really are business people. Now, in holiday, while our children are there playing, football outside at the flat in Entebbe, on Sakura Road, where I was living with my family, were 8 other families in that area. His children, he used to go with them to his shop.
Yeah.
Okay? Where it was like a small supermarket. And then they are there, they are either cleaning the shop, they are either helping somebody to where is soap, where is this. Those days there wasn't anything like this is cutlery, this is this, because these are big supermarkets. So the children would be taking people, showing them where you would get things. In the evening, they come back. How many of us have things that we do and our children have never even stepped in the environment that we work in to be able to appreciate what we do? Because look here, Brian, if every evening you come and on that breakfast table, on that lunch table, on that dinner table, there is everything children want. They can even put pizza. They call it pizza. My son calls it pizza. I said it is pizza. I said, Dad, no. It is pizza. So you put all these things there. They are on the table.
Yeah.
But your children don't know where you work.
Yeah.
They don't know where you get money from. So they think that to put things in life, you can
just
as
go
long
to a
as
supermarket.
yes, as long as you get the money, whichever way you get it, then you can look after the family. We must begin to show children how we get the money, where we get the money, what it takes to get the money? Is it discipline? Is it integrity? Is it what? They must be able to tell. I have always been asked, a question intrigued my mind. And at one time, I was like angry, with people in power, with the leadership, with the government. Why is it that the children of certain families, the families, in a Gomborora, in a district, you don't know the person, you have never seen the person, but you hear there is so and so.
Yeah.
Ekaya kasinje. Buli omu agitwala nga yakitiibwa nga yakitobalabanga. But it is a family that is known in an area, which means that family, sweat and blood, they have built a reputation. And when your child goes and say,
I am from
effect to the whole world, they know you have learned from your father the little things. And then if you can't be like your father, therefore you can't be a good manager because your father had integrity. Therefore you can be a person of integrity. If your father had money, then
started who owned their first account when we got to uni.
Exactly.
Because of that.
Because of by uni it's late.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Crane Bank made a lot of money.
That was Crane. Yes.
Crane Bank made a lot of money.
That was Crane Bank. That was Crane Bank.
Yes.
I opened it in Crane Bank,
Yes.
and I even used to declare it to IGG. And I used to say I opened an account for my daughter. What shocked me is that she was saving some little money from the pocket money that I'm giving her. Normally, you check our children. When they come back from school, they come back with some money, which they saved from, and when they reach at school, they are eating chapati, they are doing this, and you realize they have become broke when you find them at home. But they come with some money.
Yes.
Have we ever thought that the money that you give them as school fees, it is their money? No, as pocket money. It is their money, but they need to save it. Have we ever told them that?
Because we only give it so they can use it.
So that they can use it. But look at this. You can tell them, I have opened an account for you. And if you have some money, you just go and put this money on the account. You can even tell them that if I check, if you tell me your account is in good standing, you are not eating it from there, I will add something. I will double it. So you begin now to tell them to think about money. And lastly on this, as a parent, you must be the first example of how you use your money. If every evening they see you coming home drunk, and then you reach home and say, Banange, tetuli emere, and the wife, their mother is asking you, Walesewo sente? You came while you were drunk. At home, there's nothing. There is completely nothing. Now they will begin to start questioning, and you go. You're telling them you don't plan. You're telling them you don't plan. You're telling them that there is no difference between want and needs. Children must learn that there are things we appreciate in life, but we don't need them at that point. You cannot afford it. Children must begin to know that there are certain things that are important. You want them, but the stage hasn't reached, or you cannot afford them. Here you are, they are picking everything they want, and you are paying. How about you seated at home in a sitting room, and you are like, tugenda shoppinga. Buli omu awandiike
what they want.
Buli omu naleeta list kakati nogamba kale mutuule. Kino kiri important naye tetukyetaaga. Tofaayo gundi kino then this one why do you need that? This one no, it is very expensive at this material time, I cannot afford. Akatabadde ku gundi abantu bayinza okulowooza nti ntondo parents.
Well, policing also.
Not if I didn't have the chance to have worked in NSSF, I wouldn't have a place that, I'll check my balance. Is that passive income enough for me to be comfortable that I will not be stuck to the workplace until I'm 60? That I will not be 60? That I will not be desperate? So, a group of friends, me and my friends, we happened to be in this first cohort, and then we went back and we were so sad that we had worked for long, we had gotten money, we had gotten promotions, we had moved from 200,000 shillings a month to
a few zeros.
Yes. And if we had known that there's a place like keeping, which takes you to sustaining and passive income, we ought to have had another account that had the same exact balances as our NSSF, or even more.
Yeah.
Or even more. You know, we ought to have saved maybe at least 50% of our money before we got married, and maybe 40%, and maybe 30%. And by today, if I'm having 200 million in NSSF, I should have another 200 million to 300 million somewhere else if I had understood all those concepts much earlier. So we said, how do we then, if we have lost time, okay, fine, let's start now. And if we are starting now, we might have to cut down on a few expenses so we can, you know, speed up that journey of enjoying passive income at a time X, because now we could even predict. When you look at the instruments on the market, you can even predict.
Yes.
Yeah, so we said, we cannot allow our children to get in this same bracket. Yeah, we can't have this statistic going down at a household level. So what we decided to do with a group of friends is to get our children. Then the youngest was about, I think, 5 years old. And we didn't have any teenagers then. So we have about 30 children in that group right now.
Right now.
Yes, and we said there is no way we can take the word bond, passive income, sustaining, keeping money, investment, etc. to these kids because they will not understand it. So how do we make it very practical? And how do we tell it to a 10-year-old the way that a 10-year-old will understand it? So we decided to get, there's a gentleman who makes, some people call them piggy banks. I don't eat pork, so I opted away from a piggy bank. But we borrowed from a concept from Hebrew families called the 5-jar rule.
The 5-jar rule.
Yes. And then we got, there's a gentleman called Mr. Michael. We asked him to make us a box. I brought one of it here today for illustrations. And at that point, we had about 10 children, then that was 6 years ago. A box bank, we call it a box bank. So it's divided into five parts.
It's called a box bank.
Yes, a box bank. So you have, you can ignore this. This is the one for depositing.
Okay.
When you get money.
So the
first thing we did is,
I want the crew on camera to
be able to see
this clearly.
Yeah, this is actually,
so because there are different labels.
Yes. This is actually my daughter's bank. We've had about 3 versions of these at home in the last 6 years. So there's one. So when you earn, so we had to, first of all, we had to employ our children at home because we wanted to make it very practical and very simple for them. So different parents give them different tasks and different chores at home that you would ideally pay for. You don't pay them for things like washing the dishes because it's a good thing to wash the dishes at home.
They are supposed to do
They are supposed to do
chores.
exactly. Yeah. But there are things that perhaps you as a mother are supposed to do and they're just giving you extra hands. So you pay them for things like that for a monthly stipend. Some of us started out with 5,000 shillings per month. In my home, I started with 15,000 shillings per month. They have seen gotten salary increments. Now they earn 25,000 shillings per month in my home. So when you pay them the first day, they put all their money in depositing and then they distribute that money in the different jars or the different boxes. So the first one is a tithe, 10%.
10% of tithe
goes to tithe, yes. So actually when this money comes through at the end of the month, we even go to the bank and get new notes because we want to make it exciting. New 1,000 shilling notes. We want to make it exciting. We also want to make it easy for them to distribute. So they put 10% in tithe, and then they put 10% in giving. And then they know that, yes, they know that if I have a birthday at school, if I have a friend that I want to give money to, and the conversations that come out of this are very interesting. One of the objectives why we did this is because, one, we wanted to talk about money as early as at home, because we didn't have a chance while growing up to discuss money matters at home. So in giving, they'll know that if I have a birthday at school, if I have a friend that I want to give something, if somebody is in need, they'll put their 10% here. So if someone is earning 20,000 a month, they'll have 2,000 here, they'll have 2,000 here. And then this one is, hey, this one is a mistake, but this one should be an E, E is for emergency. So they put 10% in emergency. So if somebody, for instance, knocks at a stone and gets some blood coming out, you walk to the shop with them, you buy a plaster, and they come and pick from their money. Yes. as long as their emergency fund can afford it. If it's above their emergency fund, we go to the parent. Yeah. And then
You go to the bank to borrow money. You don't have it at home.
yeah. And then for me, my inspiration and my biggest goal for going this route of practical was actually this one. And this one is an investment one. It's the one that hurt me the most, because I said if I had started working and saved 20% of my salary at the rate of return on the market, today I would have a bigger balance than my NSSF balance. For me, that was hurtful. So these, they put 20% and they'll know that they don't touch it. In fact, one of the families, one boy asked that, but how come we don't touch this one? I think it was about 9 years then. And then a 10-year-old said, you know what, the reason we don't touch this one because of everything our parents have told us. We have meetings and we discuss and they share experiences. So he said, you mean this one I'm supposed to touch it when I'm Jaja Mukade? And that's when the mother said, you know what, learning is actually taking place, because you don't have to explain to them what it all means when you're doing it. You're just telling them, if you do A, B, C, D at home, I'm giving you X amount of money. I mean, supervisor, boss mode, not mother mode. And when you earn, we distribute it. Then over time, because you start to talk about all these things, they make sense to them. And then they know that this last one is a spending box. So they only put 50% here.
Spending.
Yes, so 50% of their money. And this, we said that if somebody hits the marketplace, if these kids are doing this at 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, 10 years, 12, we want them to come to a place where, like me, my first job was 200,000. If I had known this, it means that I would have known then that only 100,000 is available for me for spending. The other 100,000 would have gone into maybe 3 different accounts for etc, etc, etc. And different parents name these things different things. We've had like, in my household, we've had about 3 different versions. We actually named the latest one according to the first 5 books of the Bible. I'll dare you, Molondo, if you can tell me what each of these boxes mean and why we decided that. But
so Genesis,
Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. But the concept is ideally the same.
So you call each box, it's the 5
you can name
jars,
them whatever
right?
you want.
So that's why there are 5.
Yes, 1, 2. This one is for depositing. You can
Depositing.
ignore it. Yeah. The
Whatever
day
you have,
money,
you put it up.
And then the day when it's time to distribute, you come and distribute it in these 5 jars. But the 3 main key things for us was, 1, start talking about money as early as possible.
Yeah.
In a home setting, when they're still young, make it practical and they let them learn. The second thing for us was, and the most important thing for me, was this box, the 20%. Is it this one? Yes, for the future.
Yes, the investment.
Exactly. And now we have children in that in that group that say, you know what? Why can't I just put this, the one that I put in 20%, why can't I buy $1 every month? What will happen to that $1 every month if I'm 30 years old? And then one of the children tasked us to say that if I kept this money and it's out of the box, because now some of them are taking them to total account, like the one you've mentioned. We thank God for Smart Life. There's a parent who has opened up, Smart Life allows you to open wallets under your main account.
Yeah.
So they've opened up wallets in their children's names just to put their 20%. Some don't trust themselves. They feel like, if my year elapses for Smart Life to access, I might get their 20% as my emergency, so I'll keep it here until this child is able to take it to, account X or account B. But the whole point is the effect of compounding and the magic of compounding and what happens to compounding over time. Because one time we were tasked in that group to say, if I saved 5,000 shillings for 30 years, this kid was 6 years old. And we had to get out a calculator and Excel sheets that if I saved 5,000 shillings per month for 30 years, guess what? In 30 years, they will have more than 10 million. But the money from their box will only be 1.8 million. The 8.5 million, just to elaborate and underscore and make bold and underline the effect and the magic of compounding and what happens over time. 8.5 million will have come from the magic of compounding over time. Of course, all factors remaining constant, like the rate of return on the market. But so we went as rudimentary and as practical as this, because we said, you know what, we cannot have our children falling into the same boat. How can I discover compounding at age what? in work what? Man, I should be. I should be.
So you're calling it the first 5 books of the Bible. Why?
This is just personal to our home, but different homes call them different things. For me, I want to dare you to tell me why. Are you a Bible scholar?
I'm a student. Yeah.
So at least give me one book and tell me why it's called that before I give you the answers.
So Genesis, because, it's the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
That's
when you
where
get
it all
exactly
starts.
when you get your money, before you even start to enjoy it or save it, etc., take up your tithe. For those of you who believe in God,
Yeah.
even the Muslims have zakah. That's why it's 10% Exodus.
Also, I can call it zakah if I want. If
Yes,
I'm a
if you
Muslim.
want, you can call it zakah.
Exodus because I am.
So first tell me what jar is it of the jars that I've told you here? This 10%, what is it for? And why?
For giving.
No.
Nope.
It is a tithe.
No, tithe is
here.
Genesis.
We're already
tithe
done with
is
tithe.
Genesis.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's giving.
Why?
Why?
Well, you're wrong, but why?
Because of generosity, being generous, right?
Being generous. Eh?
Eh.
Okay, where you're wrong, I'll just give you the answer. So Exodus is for emergency because we're going into the wilderness. And you know when you're going into the wilderness, we're
Okay.
exiting Egypt.
Yeah,
eh?
it makes
So you know you will
sense.
need water, you will need food. You're probably worried about where to get meat because you left. Okay, we can't go into Bibles.
okay,
But yes,
okay.
the 10% is for emergency. And Leviticus,
Leviticus.
another guess.
Leviticus.
Abalevi.
Bruh. Can someone
It wasn't
online?
meant to turn into a Bible class. But yeah.
No,
So Leviticus 10% is for giving because
Giving.
this book is full of offerings. This is where they talk about all the different offerings the Lord talks about. So we name this. It's a givings box. You know what this is, of course.
Deuteronomy.
Yes, because it talks about the future, so
Yeah.
the investment.
Uh-huh.
And then numbers, spending, because that's when they were counted, when the people of Israel were counted.
Were
So-
counted.
But
Yeah.
you can name it whatever you want, but the whole point is a practical example and a
Wow.
practical journey of how you can get the kids earning. And not just earning, but they're learning this holistic view of money, that when I get 1,000 shillings, I've had children tell themselves when an uncle comes and drops them 10,000 shillings, 20,000, and they're like, oh my God, I'm going to go and buy loaded fries from Cafe Javas. And their siblings telling them, have you tithed? Have you taken off investment? Have you taken off emergency? Then there are families where, when the parents are not looking, they find that, they are busy going to their investment to spend because they've seen that money is sweet, or they are going to emergency and giving
And get-
because they don't have,
I
you know,
have
scenarios.
an emergency
Thank
for
you very
Cafe
much.
Java's
And then you're discussing issues of integrity, and you're telling them, do you want to be a poor jaja mukade? Do you see the example? We even use examples in the community or in our own
Of
families.
people, yeah.
Yes, of if you don't do this, this is what will happen. Then there are children who have said that, you know what, mommy, when I'm 18, I want to buy land. And he's feeling like, you
You're
know,
gone.
thank you so much. He's just 10 years old and he's thinking, I can buy land at 18 because he's
Yeah.
seeing where the future is going and this money is adding up. And they're
Yeah.
shocked that their other boxes could be empty, but their investment box is actually growing.
Good,
And one
yeah.
asked, but how can I? You said this is supposed to grow. It's not enough for it to save. So they get somebody. There's one who has the border man on the village who brings their things from the market, who once asked, they know this family, the idea of 5,000 shillings, I'll give it back to you. And they come and ask, so how do I give it back to him? You can give it back to him if he brings back 500 shillings on top of the 5,000. And when he brings back that 500 on top of the 5,000, put it back in the, don't touch it because it's meant to
You
grow.
reinvest.
But obviously right now, it's the sustainable thing is to put that, whatever is adding up here, periodically, to put it on an account that gives you a return, or on a Smart Life account for NSSF has made that possible. But the point is to make sure that you enjoy the beauty of compounding over a
Yeah.
period of time. Like it's, I even want to repeat that example. Imagine 1.8 million that you've gotten from your wallet over time, turning into 10 million because of the 30-year
That's incredible.
period. If all of us started out like that,
And
today,
the 30 years go fast.
are you telling me today if we had maybe 100 savers in NSSF, if one of them could put up their hand for having the same exact balance somewhere else, we would need to take them for a trip, I think, to
Yeah.
Hawaii.
Yeah.
But yes, and that's why
It's
for us it was a challenge, it was a bad moment, that it's not good enough for us to learn these things late. Let's take them down to home, and we promise these children that you guys should be dons at 55, not because you're working 11 hours out of your 8-hour
Yeah.
day,
Yeah.
but because you're smart and you're building habits and you're building discipline,
Awesome.
and you've seen this practical journey and you see that it's possible, and you ask them again, how many of you want to make money while sleeping? And that journey can only come through the effect of compounding over time, and you can look at the breakdown of those numbers in real terms and make a decision and see that come to life. Yeah.
The 5-jar tool.
That's very nice.
It's fantastic, right?
Yeah.
The 5-jar tool. That's incredible. Can we do Kalango? Headmaster, can we do Kalango?
Is he allowed?
Hey, are we allowed to do Kalangu?
We need to ask. We need to
This
ask my
box.
MD Apollo. I don't want to be fired from work.
This box, I think, yeah. So we can tell the manufacturer to write whatever we want.
Whatever
to write.
you want. For me, it was
Right.
the first 5 books, but the concept is the same. The percentages, the 5-portion split, the taking that conversation at home,
Yeah.
employing the children, deciding how much you want to give them, not confusing the chores that build responsibility from those that you actually pay for. For example, the homes where they do the shoes in the home and they pay them for that, the parents' shoes, or they work on the laundry cycle for the parents, or they work in the garden. You know those things. There's a parent who has a big house and they work on their balcony, a place
Yeah.
where your maid cannot reach. So those tasks that you can employ them for at such an early age, and it's also not heavy work, less ILO comes for you, but you understand. And as they get older, they can take on more tasks in the home that you're employing other people for, just to build this concept. I have a child in some home that said that now, but you know what? They told their parent that, I'm in P7, I'm about to go to school. I'm worried about getting boarding school because I'll stop earning. Can you imagine?
Hey,
Yes.
so I want to stay in day.
I want to stay in this school so I can continue earning. And then at some point, one of them said that, but why can't I just get a Rolex stand so I can increase my finances? You know, they're doing all these maths. And then one time, the stories are endless. One of them was saying that, you know what, if my parents cannot buy me a phone, and if I save for the next, if I'm only eating 10% for spending, if my 10% is 10,000, that means if I don't use this money in 6 or 7 months, I'll have 70,000. I can get a kabiditi. And they go to their parents and say, but now if I buy myself a phone, will I still have phone rules in this house? You know, they're challenging.
Now it's
you
my
know?
phone.
Thank you, because
It's my money.
They're earners. They've tested money. They know what it's like. There's another parent who takes, because they want them to enjoy the 50%. They take their children to those days when Mosisi was still around. You know, there used to be that market just right outside Radio 1.
Hey, they turned that
It's
road
no longer
on
there
a
now.
Sunday.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
It is
so
like
this
a flea market.
a flea market, yes. So she would take them to that market to buy toys that cost between 3,000 to 5,000 because that's what their wallet had.
Yeah.
And then one day she wanted them to discover whether they had expensive tests or not and took them to a restock. And those same toys in a different version, which is newer, like at 75,000, I said, I must work harder if my 50% is going to buy me a toy from a restock. So just allowing their minds to navigate the world and to understand that, you know, when you get money, you don't just spend all of it. You have to be responsible. You have to work harder. If you want to get certain things in your life, you have to plan. So you're forced to get into the details of those conversations with this practical approach.
That reminds me of the story of the talents in the Bible, where 3 people were given talent. They were given talents in terms of call it, if you want, call it money, and one doubled.
Yeah.
And the other one, one doubled high, another one. But there's one who said, mukama wange nze nkumanyi oli muzibu nnyo. Sente zo nga bwe wazimpa nzikomezaawo.
Yeah.
And he wasn't blessed like the other one.
Yeah.
And it also goes down to what I was telling you. This is, if you want, can say, this is from the town setting, you know, people who are born here, where you get money to give them. But in the rural setting, okay, it may not be money.
True.
And I can tell you, after establishing a home, I worked for many years to be able to establish my own home. I was always based at my father's home. And this is another conversation of young people. How long would you want to stay in your father's home, beautiful as it may be? Now, whenever mine was established in 2019, that's when we entered the house. In 2019, how many years ago? These are six years. For all the time I had worked. This is the first time that we're entering into what you call Kasinje's house. Now, I put a small farm, and I put some cows. I have a banana plantation, and we are trying to grow some coffee. And we are then my wife is also, you know, has some gardens of tomatoes, cabbages. I normally put these things on my X handle, and people say, "Msaji agenda munyanya, vichi."
We've seen your home on Twitter, and it's a beautiful home.
Very beautiful home.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And when they go, they want to go home because the home in the village is more beautiful, 10 times beautiful than the home we have in Entebbe.
Yeah.
So I was like, if I grow into my 60s, 70s, let me be in a place where I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
And so I made everything, you know, look good. Now, whenever we go home on 23rd. They are in that house. They're on TV in that house. 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, until when you tell them we are going back. They will not go into the farm to see the animals, to water the animals, to milk the animals.
Yeah.
They will not go into that farm to look at the young coffee that is growing up and the tomatoes. They see vehicles going there and then they come up with the tomatoes.
Yes.
They don't know how
With
you
the
grow
harvest.
tomatoes and that kind of thing. Until when someone told me, naye mukuru, kino kyalo lwaki oleeta abaana bali musiji mu crocodile siji they call them crocodile what crocs bali mu crocs, you know, and you know, designer t-shirts and
there are socks in Crocs. And
Yes.
there are people here
Yes.
who are headmaster. First check.
Anna.
yes, and
Where are you?
and jerseys because they are Man United supporters, you know,
Yeah.
they can stay
I
in the
thought
house
the team is doing
of
badly.
an Arsenal until Brian, until we said, Gwe, I have
Gendo
given you that
Pochettino.
cow,
Yeah.
that young calf is yours.
Yeah.
That one is for so and so. That one is for so and so. Young ones, you don't give them big ones. And then every time we go, we see this young man get his nkoni, and he goes to look for his cow. You find him touch the cow.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, look at the cow. When they are going to spray, he's there also spraying, but he sprays more of his calf, and we have to tell him. We have to tell him, tebateekako mungi.
Distribute equally.
Yeah, naye the idea of looking after something,
Yeah.
you know, comes.
Start, yeah.
Then when our elder boy, we have 3 boys. The one is our second child, and so we told him when he got his salary, we told him that get some percentage of that. We shall add you something. When we are buying coffee seedlings, you also buy coffee seedlings. So Nigel bought coffee seedlings, and then we showed him from here to here. That's where you are planting your coffee. So we had someone who was teaching us how to plant coffee, you know, so many centimeters, so many, you know, that kind of thing. So now he goes to he's like, he's finished daddy's, now he comes to your garden. Already in your mind, you have the idea that I have land,
Yes.
Yeah.
and I have to do something. So he's counting, he's looking. Say, hey, here is how many? That is
Practical.
5 feet.
Yeah.
So he knows how to dig. You dig this type, and then you put in this.
Yeah.
And then they put his coffee. When we go home, he goes to his coffee. To
Inspect.
Can you
to,
imagine?
to inspect,
Before TV.
yes, to inspect his coffee. So that responsibility thing, I must look out for something. Brian, if our children are not involved in what we are doing, subsistence as it may look, okay? But of course now everything that we do is for commercial.
Yeah.
If you have sold that coffee, you have to tell him, if that cow grows and you know it gives birth, and then you have another cow, he knows bajikamamu liter abiri.
Waiting.
Yeah.
He knows it. He knows how much money that will go to the shop. I have known someone, I will not mention names, I've known someone who is still alive but is a very old man in our part, Mbarara sector, where his children looked for his land titles, and they went and sold a big chunk of land, about 1 square mile.
My goodness.
They realized that his sons, his sons have sold their land. Why? They have no attachment to their land. You have never even taken them to show them that this is what you do with the land. So everything that is there is by abakozi. They are the ones who do everything, because you want to insulate
your children to
insulate
do-
your children from that. Actually, I can end up on this one by giving an example. On Christmas, I had a small function at home, and then we needed some chairs, some tables, and some, you know, some clothes to where you put the chairs and all that. Okay, some kind of decorations. So they told us, you go to Mbarara in Orharo area. There is a place. So I drove there with my wife. So when we reached there, we found they were in a meeting. So they said, Linda Ko, I found the Linda Ko. So they went and called me, the director. And who comes out? This is a man who is a corporate, who is in the bank. Some are in the bank, some are big lawyers. Their father was a judge of the High Court. Okay? Unfortunately, he passed on. And they had this business of you know, like service providers in big functions. Okay? So they have chairs, they have tents, they have everything. The meeting they had was a family meeting. This family meeting, because this was Christmas setting, all of them had gone home.
Yeah.
So in this business, which their father bequeathed to them, he didn't say no, it is a company. And here all the children, one is a managing director, the other one is an accountant, you know, this one is in charge of this, the girls are in charge of this, are in charge of that. Now you can contrast the two scenarios where you don't involve your children into what you're doing, and they will sell your property even when you're still alive.
Yeah.
And another one is another
I
family.
actually have a friend who said, me, I don't bring my kids next to my things. When I'm saying like, they can kill me. I'm like, hey, I thought you're supposed to show them.
Exactly.
So that they get the skill.
Exactly. Now you have another family setting that are adding value to what you bequeathed to them.
Yeah.
These things don't come by chance.
Yeah.
These things are taught over time, to compound over time. Because remember, when you have grown old, you have not brought your child into the things that you do. At the end of the day, you say, I have a farm, can you look after it? And say, Dad, no. Me, I have important things to do.
I want to be an influencer.
Yes, you want to be an influencer. Some of them are in London where they don't know what is happening at home. They don't care about what happens. So it's very important, as she's saying, it's very important that we begin to show them that if you get a cow, young as it is, how is it going to compound? Just like this box, how it compounds. So it may not be a box really, it may be in terms of other things, like I have explained.
Yeah, and I was coming to that, Becky. Are there tools or apps? You know, you have the 5-jar tool, it's powerful, that we can use, to teach kids about money. Are there apps even that the fund recommends for parents to teach their kids about money?
Headmaster needs to come here.
Headmaster, where is Headmaster?
Respond to that one. But we have had, we've had classes for teenagers.
For younger people,
The most we've had is classes for teenagers. We were planning at some point to get games that teach about financial, because children these days love phones and swiping and all sorts of things. But we have not started on that yet. It sounds like
the Headmaster is here.
To get to gamify financial literacy. For the younger generation, so that they can learn all these things while they think they are playing, but they're actually walking away with skills that they can add to that.
And I'm going to get into your questions very soon. So let me ask Headmaster, are there, you know, man, I love this thing. I'm going to make one.
How old are your babies?
Oh, my eldest
it's best for preteens.
Yeah, my eldest just turned 12.
Okay.
So turned 12 3 days ago. Okay. Yeah. He's also an Arsenal fan. So the house is secure.
She's Arsenal. I am going to put something when she gets the box.
Oh.
I am going to contribute 100K.
Nice. And make sure she distributes it.
We shall distribute
in the box.
Yeah. That's incredible. I love that.
I've said it on TV, so she will get the money.
Thank you.
Headmaster. Yes, please.
Are there tools? What are you doing with kids at the fund? What are you planning to do to help parents teach them about money?
Actually, our programs have been pivoted to the kids themselves.
Yeah.
So depending on which area we are in, earlier on we are here and we are talking about Otuke. Let me start with the remote areas. We've had a team going to the schools in the remote areas, and we have had challenges, gamifying money, where we actually start, we went into Otuke thinking these are people that are needy, until we went into schools and started a challenge for money. And we realized all the children had business. They could do business. They could afford to do business. One of the schools is actually supplying the school with milk. And for us, that got us at a point where I begin. So that was a pilot, but we hope we can now expand it. But I think, Anna Maria, if you're kind enough, we expose people to quite a number of tools.
Yeah.
We have developed ourselves an AI tool, but even one of our studio persons here has developed a budgeting tool. Shadrach.
It must be Shadrach.
Yeah,
He
yes.
likes those
Please put the link in there.
Yes.
This particular tool also was in collaboration with NSSF.
Yeah.
The gentleman who just walked into Bank of Uganda, walked into our place, and then we've been refining. We have asked him to do a digital version of that.
Nice.
Because the Gen Z parents will say, yeah, I want the digital part of it.
Yeah.
There is one of the things I can tell you is there are quite a number of solutions.
Awesome.
And when you come to us, we are able to point you to a number of persons. There is another one who has an interesting solution for pocket money. And it's all digital, all online. The kids have a Visa card. You just send the money on that Visa card. And he has partnered with a number of schools where you use that card, even at the points of the canteen.
Nice.
So they no longer have to carry money. They can transfer to each other.
They break into someone's suitcase.
Exactly. They can transfer to each other. They can check balances. He gives them a POS. All that is happening.
Smart Life one of those wallets.
Yes. And they can actually Smart Life. And most importantly, I need to speak about this because as NSSF, you as a parent, you can form a wallet under Smart Life for your child. Now, we have family planning, we have family planting, we have family spacing. You need to understand. You need to start choosing where you belong.
What's the difference?
Family planting, you are just bringing the children to the world. Family spacing, you are having them in different places. Family planning is not the number of children. It is actually when you have this child, what plans do you have for them? And NSSF Smart Life is one of those things. Your children should never feel like they are an accident. I will talk about this at the closing. But when you put an NSSF Smart Life, you're actually telling them, but I think of you every day.
Yeah.
In my money, I think of you.
You are part of
You are not an afterthought.
Yes.
So we need to do it consciously. And as NSSF, we have expanded that option. And we said you can open a wallet for your child under your own Smart Life.
Right.
Anna Maria, please, will put a code and a QR code. Just scan and then start that journey. Yeah. There are quite a number of questions for you.
Yes.
It is buzzing. You need
and I'm starting now.
Yes.
This one for Becky. Please, from Rosette Namugumya Busurwa. Can Becky please elaborate the different tasks from which children can earn? Especially those not necessarily part of house help and child responsibility. what tasks can kids? Yeah.
We always get asked that question. Incidentally, I'm not surprised it's the first from parents, but the easiest way for us to have come down to list the number of tasks where children can earn is to look at those things in your environment that you don't want to give to your house help, and they usually belong to the tasks that, like of a mother. There's of course different families have different rules within their household, but there are some people who, for example, your husband's shoes and your shoes, the parents' shoes, for instance, cleaning them, a kid can do that for money in your house. There are people who have backyard gardens where they work very closely with it, and they have to, you don't want the person who minds your plants or your vegetables to come every single day. You can give them a routine on watering for those backyard gardens. And then there are people who have, I know a home, like I mentioned earlier, they have spaces where they don't want their house helps to come, and yet they're not present every day to do those places. So they've taught the children to spring clean the windows, the balconies, the walls, but routinely, and they get their children paid for that. But I also like what has been said here about the farm,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
those are things that ideally you'd pay somebody for.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
if you
yeah.
introduce children to them in according to their scope and according to their ages, again, they could get paid for that.
Yeah.
What we clearly do not pay for is things like doing the dishes,
Yeah,
because that's
they're
what they're
to do.
supposed to do anyway.
Yes.
Cleaning the compound, that's what they're supposed to do.
Uh-huh.
So it's a delicate balance between what should be paid for and yet not too heavy for their age, because then you're going to child labor issues. But then as they
Yes.
get older, you can reduce some of the services that you're paying for and let your children increase the scope of their work in those places.
And Ronald Sendaula asked that, you know, the distinguishing between nurturing them and child labor.
Yes, that is what she's
How
actually
do you
saying.
you're not drawing
You have
that
to draw a
line?
balance, yes.
Huh.
I know that ILO has a definition
At what
for
point
child
does it
labor.
constitute child labor?
There's a definition, I don't have it off head, but child labor is when they call it actually easy work, light work. Light work is not child labor. So I don't have the definition of what is light and what's not light. But as a parent, you should be able to tell. Like, you're not sending your child to the streets to sell chapati because you're making them at home and you want to make money out of your child. That's definitely child labor for a 6-year-old or 10-year-old or 12-year-old. But you can find the delicate balance.
If labor is contributing towards the child growth and development, okay, like you have to, at home, you have to go to the banana plantation.
Let me get the definition.
Weed it, you have to milk a cow, you have, this is not child labor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
because,
helping.
yeah,
the
because
home.
milk doesn't come from a fridge. Okay,
It comes
so,
from
yeah.
I have checked out the
Can I?
ILO
Oh, I've also just checked
definition.
that. Yes.
Go ahead.
So child labor is defined as work that deprives children of their childhood,
Yeah.
their potential, and their
Yeah.
dignity, and that is harmful to their physical and mental development.
Yeah.
Okay.
Surely milking a cow cannot be.
No.
That,
And
they go on to explain whether it interferes with their schooling by depriving them of opportunity to attend school. Because you'll find some children are busy selling for their parents,
Yes.
and yet we have UPE that they're not going to school. So that's definitely what child labor.
Yeah, I remember a few years ago, did a couple of series around the Busoga region of kids that are not going to school but are spending time working in the sugarcane plantations.
Yes.
Or masese, you know, fishing, so they can sell, but they never, even when they sell, they never go to school. Yeah, so that will constitute that. Awesome. We have another question. Now, some of you, the questions you're asking us.
You're fearing them.
So, the thing that has come up always, what is the right age to start? Is it 3? Is it 5?
Bambi.
Is it 10?
I'm just seeing a 3-year-old
But
suffering
on
with work.
what? Because you see,
On light work.
or
And age-appropriate
financial
work.
matters.
Yes.
In a home that we are talking about, they vary. They're in a range of so many things.
Yeah.
There's, for example, when you are trying to teach a child to understand the value of money. Okay, this doesn't involve anything, but the things that you do shows a child how money is valuable. Like I was telling, where you say, pick that money, go and put there. You're trying to show a child. It can come at any age. But there are also other issues when you should be able to differentiate that this one is necessary, this one is not necessary, you know, the needs at that particular time and that. Okay? Probably that comes at around maybe 10 years, okay? But there's when you're teaching them how to save.
Yeah.
To save. You cannot start teaching a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old. You can teach them other things, like the mother was saying, teaching them about bad touches, saying here, no,
Don't touch.
here, no, here, no, as young as that. But now, if you're going to start now saving investments, this box, I can see this box coming anywhere, like 8 years, 10 years.
Yeah.
We've actually started as early as 5 years,
Yes,
but it's
exactly.
very light work, like
Exactly.
sorting.
So,
just sorting, for
yeah.
example, sorting the shoes in the
Yes.
in the corridors and making sure that sister is with sister. They even call them, you know, this one is this one's brother, and getting as low as 5,000 shillings just to start the practical bit. But
Yeah.
not lower than 5 years of age.
Right.
Yeah, in our experiences.
There's another question here. Balinda Mustafa says, I'm a salary earner. How can I change to become financially stable?
Very nice question.
Yeah.
Yeah, stability in terms of finances, they come from what exactly we have said since we began.
Yeah.
It begins to appreciate money. You will never be stable when all you get is spent or spend in wrong priorities. I've seen young people, they get some money. Where do they end? In betting. You know, you can go in betting and get some money. You bet on Manchester and Arsenal. Of course, Manchester will be beaten. So why do you why do you bet on something like that?
The sound man is not happy.
Yeah.
Is a Man U fan.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you get your money and you want to put it in wrong priorities, is wrong. Let me tell you, there is one standard thing that you can save. You can start saving even if it is 1 shilling.
True.
And people say, hey, you are telling us to save. We don't have the jobs. These are the things they ask me on Twitter.
Yeah.
But I tell them that for one reason or the other, you get some money. Now, saving is putting a portion of what you get, small as it is, you know, you plan for it. Saving
The principle
means
is the same.
The principle is the same. You put it somewhere too. So if you want to be financially stable, those are the first ingredients. But also financial stability goes with earning. You must earn that money. If you don't earn that money, you cannot start saying, I will ask somebody to give me the money so that I become financially stable. In financial stability, there is no begging, there is no whatever. You must work for the money. Yeah. Okay? And then the question of if I have saved this money, how do I multiply it? How do you compound it? Okay? So people must learn that now I have got this, then you must go and ask, supposing I do this, will I make it 2? Will I make it what? And then it is at that time that you even begin to start like, let me invest in something. Yeah. Investing in something means you put all your eyes, everything on something that you have established, and then you begin to get the money. But the overall principle is, do not simply spend your money on things that are not going to add value to that money.
Absolutely. Becky, any
additions to that? First of all, they're in a good place if they have a job. Because there are people who want financial stability and they don't even have work, or they don't know that they have something they can exchange for some sort of income or salary. But you're in the right place because you've already joined in the money conversation. So keep joining every single time we're airing these. You'll learn a thing or two. But also money has its own language. He has said it, I'll just say it differently. But money, you have to, first of all, be able to attract money. You're attracting money. You can increase your income streams, but a salary is one of them. As long as they don't compromise your day job or your salary, you can increase your ability to earn more. I don't know what you do or what qualifications you have, but that could be a goal that you have in terms of attracting money. You can attract more money through increasing your income streams or by increasing your ability to earn even where you are, by doing extra or getting one more jobs in that particular place. And then you go to the place that we cannot run away from, which is keeping money. And for us, that is saving. You can save with different instruments. I'm sure if you're in the formal employment, you already have an NSSF account, but you can challenge yourself to open up a voluntary account with NSSF. The beauty that it does when you open it up, it does for you 2 things. One, you're saving. Like I said, I gave an example of 5,000 shillings per month for a given period. And you can determine how much you want to save and for how often, because it gives you a return on a monthly basis. This is voluntary. And then you'll watch your money that you're saving going into growing, because money has, first you get it, then you keep it, then you grow it before you can go into sustenance. I think the sustenance part is the one is asking for financial instability or financial independence, where eventually whatever you're earning is way, whatever you're bringing in is way above what you're taking out. Because right now it sounds like you're taking out what you're bringing in. Obviously that gives you a net of 0, but you have to get to a place where whatever you're attracting is a lot more than what you're taking out. And that will take you getting the money, keeping the money, growing the money. What the fund helps you with in terms of the Smart Life account, it allows you to keep it and grow it at the same time. So you'll have a vision of what that money could become in whatever period that you decide.
Yeah.
And that's what that account does for you. Then eventually you get to that place of financial independence, as long as you look at your liabilities and assets and be able to get the difference within that makes you comfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
There's more than
But good
5,000
luck.
of you watching us on X. You can also go to YouTube. In case you need to share this with anybody that has to hear this, please do, so we can grow together. I have a question here, and it's a question that I have had from my, colleagues about money mistakes and how honest parents should be with children without creating fear that, Daddy, are we poor at our home? So I want to ask you, how did the headmaster say let me start with the Asian parents.
The Asian
We
parents,
have to grow up like this.
How can parents...
it's only me now.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hassan, how can parents be honest about financial mistakes to their children?
Yes, we all make mistakes with our finances, and you invest in something that backfires, boomerangs, and most times we are alone. And I can tell you, I've been married for quite a long time. I've been having a family since 1992, and when we make these mistakes, the only way the children know is when you're not talking at home, or if you're talking to yourself.
You are sitting down like
Yes, and then you are
I've got your head.
and you are making all that, and they don't know what is happening to you. I think these mistakes, when they happen, when we have a distance with our families, okay, there is no way you are going to bring this subject to explain to your children. Okay? Yeah. But every parent, wherever you are, one of the most important things, and I normally talk about it even in retirement programs that we have, is that please always be near your family, endear your family to you. Do everything with your family. When I give you an example. When you're going home, and the children go to the farm, they are beginning to see where you invested your money. Recently, I visited a friend. He's in town here. He's not rural setting, but he's urban setting. And he took us. He has these malls, big malls called. And I will mention this. Akamwesi is my friend. Is my personal friend. Yeah. And even where he has his malls, his children rent for something. You for example, you rent where the children play, the kid play. It is your area. You rent it and you pay him. What do you use it? The washing bay.
Yet you're the child.
The washing bay is another son who is responsible for the washing bay. He took us to where he has a huge forest.
Right.
Okay, somewhere in the Mubende, and between the big trees there is land, and he says, Mulondo, these 10 acres are yours, plant coffee. These 10 acres are for and so, plant this. When you are doing that, you as a child, you are likely to see the investments your dad did, and even when he is making, when there are challenges to those investments. You cannot tell me that your son who is working with you is managing the pool business or is managing where they call them gardens. If you go to Akamwesi behind, there are gardens. There are even bars. His children have...
They are managing those things.
They are managing those
things.
Owning those things. When there are challenges, they will get to know that the challenge of dad here affects my business. If you don't allow your children to get involved in what you do and you keep it a secret, by the way, I'm talking about the children. Some of us, our wives, don't know what we are doing, where we get money.
Nkola Mutaun.
Yeah, Nkola
Temuria.
Yes.
You eat.
Naye okola bichi.
Tombuza.
That is not your business. I think, Brian, that is how we can explain our setbacks when it comes to what we do. If you begin to tell them, they begin to listen and say, Dad, why don't you do this? We are going ourselves. Somebody is cutting our trees? No, we are going ourselves. This cannot happen. They will go and spend the whole week there. And they will come and say, yo, tofa, your dad. Natadeyo abakumi. Natadeyo abakumi. Because they see this as part and parcel of a family, and they themselves, baina kye baganyirwamu mu bintu byokola. Naye gwe baleke, toyagala balabe, you know, where you go and do certain things. Even when you start explaining to them, and say, Dad, we have a meeting somewhere. We are going to play basketball. Tayagala kuwulira tebimukwatako.
That's your business, boss. Becky, you're mentoring 30.
You've just reminded me of a setback of one of the children in this group who, at one point, was too excited that he decided to get all his money from his givings box and his spending box. And he bought gifts, you know, those end of term things. He went and bought these toys between 1,000 and 3,000 for all the children. And then he even borrowed from a sibling. At that age, imagine, before 10. No. And then he had to spend the next about 2.5 months paying back this money, because every money he was getting, he couldn't just pay back because he had to apportion it.
Yes.
Looking at the discipline they're learning. So these setbacks can happen. That's why I'm saying that this is good, because you start talking about the setbacks even at that age. But I'm also reminded of sometimes the setbacks that happen in our lives are too grand to hide. Like he has said, you start talking to yourself.
You become rude.
You become rude without, and the kids don't know what's happening. I know a family who the dad used to be an MD in a certain place many years ago. And when he was fired, they had to move from a very, very big house to a 2-room house in Katwe. Jeez. So those kind of setbacks, you can't hide them from your children. I think the most important thing, of course, depending on how old they are, and having age-appropriate conversations, even when the issue is so big, is to engage your family and talk with them through this, and they'll know that regardless of what we are facing as a family, we have a path and we'll get there. You tap into all your, shock-absorbing mechanics as a family, whether it's God or whatever, problem solving, etc., etc. But as you asked that question, the most important thing for me was that at what age is that child? Because sometimes also, maybe the issue doesn't have to show, but you're burdening the child too much, and there's a solution tomorrow. Maybe you lost 100 million out of a scam. You know, these scams that go around. I don't think that you should burden a 60-year-old with such information.
You're not going to say that.
Yeah. You know, you will not say things like that, because I also know children who have taken on parents' burdens and have gotten ulcers and they're in counseling. Yeah. So what age is that child? Is that conversation age appropriate? Do you have a solution in sight? Have you seen a financial literacy expert? Sometimes you think our problem is so big. You go for counseling and someone says, you've lost 50 million. Me, I lost 200 million. But guess what? There's option A, B, C, D. But sometimes we get into the spaces that he said of talking to yourself, mumbling, quarreling, because we haven't sought help. Yes. Yeah, so I think that before you burden the children, again, depending on their age, if your child is, if I'm 60 and my child is 20, 30, we could walk through that scenario with them. Yeah. But if I'm 40 and my kids are 10, I should first seek help before I tell them what's happening to me, so I don't download on them.
The challenge.
And honesty. The issues of honesty, Brian, are very important. Honesty, integrity.
Yeah.
Let me say that you get money out illicitly, out of corruption in office, and then you have some visible people somewhere where you even supply your own organization, because under the law, you're not supposed to supply your own organization. You can imagine I'm in the police, and then I am supplying in the police. And when it comes to payment, I'm the first one who gets. The other ones, they do wait. And then somebody cheats you. Now, tell me, how do you go and tell your child, that, behind the whatever I'm doing something, but the person I'm working with has cheated me. Now, yet the whole transaction is wrong.
It's wrong.
So the issue of integrity and the issue of honesty are very paramount when you're talking to your children, when there are issues that come in the kind of business you are doing. They would want to come in and offer some help, or they themselves do something. But if it is all shoddy, I don't think they are going to get involved.
I want to thank both of you for making time. Let me give you an opportunity. Last one to parents. Look in that camera. The very big one.
Oh.
Okay, all of them are big, but
Yeah.
this one.
Okay.
The red one.
Yeah. We've spent here 2 hours talking about parenting and finance. It's not late for you. Every parent should have a conversation of money issues.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, if the conversation on money issues is not involved in a family as parents, sooner than later, or even later in life, there is going to be a whole question about your family breaking down. The family that you have set up with blood, with sweat, with everything, it will all crumble. And when you're gone, or when your energy goes down, that you will see everything going one by one, because you never had a conversation of finance. It is not too late. Every parent can do it. You can even start now. Liberate your family, but also you are teaching your children on how to grow or how to become bigger. Personally, I think I should be better from where my parents were. I should be a better.
Yes.
Okay? If I found my parents, let me use a simple example. If I found my parent with a scooter, I must be able to drive a car. But my children should be better than who I was.
Yeah.
This is how we grow our families. This is how we grow our communities. This is how we grow the country.
Absolutely.
That is the message I want to give everybody. It is your responsibility and that of me in order to be able to have stable families and a stable country for God and my country.
Retired AIGP Rotarian Hassan Kasiji.
Yes, please.
Rotarian president.
Yes.
Congratulations, you just recently got installed.
Yes, and beginning on Monday, I will be a full-fledged president. That's why I wear this.
Club president.
Club president.
The Rotary Club of?
Rotary Club of Entebbe.
Nice. There you go. Rotarian
I'm
to
waiting
be?
for my title. I was listening very closely when you were going.
Rotarian to be? Becky, your final.
You should join
Yeah,
Rotary.
my final.
Becky.
Rotary confuses me, but offline.
We are going to have a
Yes.
chat.
I will give her free
Confuses
lessons.
me, yeah, offline. My final word from me is that it's very easy for parents in this era, especially the ones that are my peers, because of course, we have different backgrounds, but when you look at the demographics of Uganda, it's very easy for parents that have earned money stably to hide that fact from their children that they have to work for money by just giving them everything they ask for. And yet we all know that when you look at the demographics of Uganda alone, a lot of, maybe 100% of our children will end up in the informal sector.
Yeah.
They'll end up hustling for money. They'll end up as entrepreneurs. They'll end up employing others. Now that is no mean task. That takes hard work and grit for them to come from that place to the place of their dreams financially. So the final word I'd like to leave for us is that introduce your children to the money concept early and let them know that, one, we work for money. It didn't just come from your wallet or from the debit card to be swiped for them to get things home. And also, two, that when you do work for money, you can actually envision a place of wealth if you give it time. And they have the best asset on their side. The best asset on their side is time, because they're still very young. I liken it to an analogy I like to use many times. I've said it many times. The 5-liter jerry can, me and 5, how somebody taught their children how to save by putting a 5-liter jerry can under a tap of water and just opening that tap of water just slightly enough for a drop to come out. You know that drop that even has a silence? Tip, tip, yeah? And they came back in the morning and they found that that jerry can was full. But what compounding does for us is that it doesn't even just get full, it overflows. And that's a message I would like to leave with you, that, you know, introduce these concepts to your children early on in life. Don't despise 5,000 shillings on a timely basis given a period of time. I've given you that mathematics, which is very practical, that if you saved 5,000 shillings for a month, for the next 30 years, if all factors remain the same at a return of minus or plus 10%, say, the investment gurus will tell us, you will leave that room with 10 million shillings and only 1.8, more than 10 million actually, only 1.8 would have been from your wallet. So do that for your children. let them know that they have to work, and let them know that they can get to a place of financial independence given time and through these habits.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, my panel has been excellent, right? Obugaro for the studio audience. Obugaro from the studio audience. And I'd like to hand it back to the headmaster.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you so much. I do the marking.
Yeah.
I'm the owner of the school.
Hey.
Yeah.
I'm the headmaster. And please, you have violated the code. You don't just say, I hand back to the headmaster.
What do you
There
do?
should be a sir before headmaster and a sir after.
I'm also
Sir,
Apollo and
headmaster,
Brad.
sir.
Thank you.
And my titles, I'm waiting.
And for the titles,
It's not fair.
I want to help you with Becky, Rebecca here. Jaja Becky.
Jaja Becky.
She aspires to be the cool Jaja,
Okay.
where her
Couldn't
grandchildren
make a
can
children.
actually say, Nina Jaja
I have a
Mugaga.
cool Jaja.
So Jaja Becky.
Yeah.
That's the title she's aspiring to be. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a good conversation. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I am about to give you homework because you never leave the head teacher's office without homework.
Yeah.
But this is what I picked, and as I was going through, the parent you should aspire not to be. Don't be the parent. I mean, it is not, and please do not even go back and look at your parents in a weird way. It's not your problem why they went through what they went through.
Yeah.
But it becomes entirely your problem if you go through those same things. They actually went through those things so that you don't have to go through them with your children.
Yeah.
So don't be this parent who is at the bursar's office. Please allow. Please allow. Please allow. Oh, no, allow. Then the child comes back. Teacher, Mami agambye, he will come later. Don't be that parent.
Yeah.
I have learned it from here.
Yeah.
If that happened to you with your parent, it is not your fault.
Yeah.
But it's entirely your fault if you do that with your children.
Yes.
Don't be your parent where you say, wait for your turn. Let these ones first go to school. And also your turn will come. You're even still young. You go play. Don't be that parent. I've learned this from here. Don't be that parent. For me, I walked. What are you asking? From transport. Me, I walked. What's wrong with you? That the child is just telling you, give me transport to go to school.
So I can
You are
go to
you are reminding them, for you walked. Even when you walked, there was no tarmac, but there is tarmac. So don't be that parent. Don't be that. And for you not to be this parent, it takes work.
Yeah.
It is not just saying that don't be.
Yeah.
Nchitwala. No, you actually have to get into work. Don't be that parent. Your children, where your children are seated at home. It is time for school, but yours are seated at home. Don't be that parent. I mean, for me, if there is anything that I pick from this, or what people need to pick, and I don't want to tell you, like Brian, or for me, I am a planned child. And now it is even higher on me. The honor is higher on me that I need. If I was a planned, both planned and wanted, you are a last born. Me, I'm a last born.
Yes.
I was planned and wanted. And I want my children to also sit somewhere and I say, Daddy also planned for us and wanted us. We're not by mistake.
Yeah.
Hey, so don't be that. Don't be, whichever background you're coming from. Don't be that child who, am I on my father's money? Always asking your children, am I on my father's money? Your father is different from their father. Your father was your father. Their father is you.
Yeah.
So please don't be that parent. So are you family planning? Are you family spacing? Or are you family planting? Think about that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. This has been the Father's Month. It has also been the main Mental Health Month. And we are grateful that we are graced by a lady who ably, with her box, you can see how she's holding on her box, has demonstrated all these things.
Powerful.
I think for us, ours is to talk, and we have done this. We shall talk. The person out there, you who's watching, yours is to actually act. For us, we believe at NSSF, when you act, things change. Yesterday, I was reminded by my team that I need to credit it to my team. So my team, Anna, Jackie, and Aisha, came up with the acronym ACT. Action changes things.
Yeah.
So, what is the action we are leaving for our homework? What book? What podcast? What novel? What billboard? What is that one thing you're telling people? Read. It will make you better. It will change your things. I will start with Brian.
The one who has a book.
Okay. Let me start with Afende.
Yes. So the question is, what do
what are you leaving with the audience? A book, what they should actually to make themselves better. A book, a podcast.
I think Brian was right. Let me leave them chosen. Which is an autobiography of Hassan Kasinje. And it shows the background, where he comes from, how is he, parents, how he goes to school, how he starts work, and the kind of things that he has done. I think that there is that journey of trying to see what is it that I can learn, what is it that I can unlearn, what is it that I can relearn.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Look for it. It is in bookstores, but someone can also order with me, and I would deliver at no cost.
No problem.
Yes.
Actually, if you can also come to me, the brokerage fee, I will deliver an autograph, one that is autographed. So, yeah, we need to create these spaces.
Yes.
Becky, for full
Apollo,
disclosure,
I will not.
But before you say, for full disclosure, Becky is not, yes, she works with us, but she brought this whole idea. What we are having now sat in her docket.
Wow.
And she groomed this whole financial literacy that it went over her.
Right.
She kicked us out of her home, and then we went over her.
That's why you're judging.
So yes.
Thank you, Apollo. I've already talked about my book. I will not give any other book apart from the book I've shown you in this box, and that's the Bible.
Yep.
Yes, I find that the Bible is an entire parable, full of wealth.
Yeah.
He talked about a parable, the 5 talents. So I'll just leave with the Bible. I have no other book that can beat that. But in terms of an action, open up a Smart Life account today. And if you don't have it, and you have children, open up sub-wallets under them in the names of your children, and enjoy the magic of compounding over time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our Smart Life QR code is on the screen. You can go to our there is a link in the YouTube if you can't use the screen, but it's all you need is an ID and 5,000 shillings. Brian, you're opening up one, not just for you, but for all those cool kids.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And finally, Brian.
So one of the things that changed the way we do money with our kids, we read a book called The Opposite of Spoiled by an author called Ron Lieber, and talks about how kids should understand money, but also their attitude towards money, whether it's generosity or generating. So if you can get it, I don't know if it's at Aristoc, we got a Kindle version, but The Opposite of Spoiled by Ron Lieber.
The opposite of spoiled.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this conversation can go on and on and on. But ours is, as I said, ours is to talk. And I keep telling you that for me, when I talk, I get paid. For you, if you're not getting paid to talk, please don't talk about these things. Just act. Act. Because when you act, things change.
Yes.
When you act, you can change times. You can change from those times when things were bad to those times when things are actually good. The key part there is action. Thank you so much, the back office team. Thank you so much, the financial literacy team and the whole entire fund for supporting this. We'll return next month at the end of the month talking about more and more money. Otherwise, have a great day.
As the sun rises across Uganda, a new dawn in luxury living awakens. Solana Lifestyle in Residences is Uganda's newest, most prestigious and award-winning lifestyle destination, an address for those who dream differently. At Solana, you're close enough to the hustle of the city, but far enough to come home to a sanctuary of smart living. Join a community of like-minded individuals where everything is taken care of and safety and security comes standard, where each community has a clubhouse, play area, pool, and other incredible features. Let an oasis of calm greet you at the end of each day with manicured gardens, pathways, parks, bicycle tracks, and so much more. Whether you're upscaling or settling down, buying a first home or investing,
Solana has it all. Uganda is now open to the world.